First Corinthians chapter 3. First Corinthians chapter 3. I'm only going to look at one verse. I believe it's verse number 6. First Corinthians chapter 3, verse number 6. The writer says, I have planted, and Apollos watered, but God gives the increase. Is that what it says? I have planted, and Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. I just want to tag the text with this thought. God gives the increase. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Paul says, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gives the increase. All year we have been guided by this theme, Thrive 25. We started the year with a list of 25 things we were doing and being challenged to do this year to help us to live a blessed life and a better life. In January, we discovered the formula godly planting plus godly watering equals godly increase. And every Sunday when the announcements scroll across the screen, you see the Thrive 25 checklist and you see the formula godly planting plus godly watering equals godly increase. I don't know how much progress you have made towards your goals. I don't know if you started and stopped or never started in the first place. I don't know whether you started and have stuck with it and are still going strong. But I came to remind you today that God is the only one who gives the increase. Because as promised, we talked about the godly planting portion of the formula back in January. I preached planting prayer, being planted in purpose. I preached being planted in good ground and plant and proceed back in January. If you missed it, they're on my YouTube page, because as promised, we talked about planting in January. Then as promised, we talked about the watering part of the formula in May and June. I preached in May, Apollos watered. I preached lessons from the Dead Sea. I preached the people you meet by the water and wrapped it up with rain on us. Again, it's on my YouTube page if you need to go back and see it. But where we talked about planting in January and watering in May, now here we are in September, and as promised, all month I'm going to be preaching about the increase part of the formula. Because when one considers the conglomerate of people who confess to be Christian all across the country, the continents, and the cosmos, we don't all look the same, dress the same, or act the same, but all of us want the increase. We don't all live the same, don't all worship the same, we don't all give the same, and aside from agreeing that Jesus is the Christ, we don't all necessarily believe the same, but all of us want the increase. Whether we are black or white, Asian or Hispanic, tall or short, fat or skinny, whether we are experts or novices, degreed or high school dropouts, whether we are upper class, middle class, low class, and even those of us who have no class, all of us want the increase. No matter how abundantly God has already blessed us, we still want the increase. God has opened the windows of heaven already and poured us out blessings we don't have room enough to receive, and yet all of us still want the increase. God has already given us a good measure that's been pressed down, shaken together, and still it's running over, yet we still want the increase. And this is not just a Christian thing, it is a human thing, because all residents of this world, as citizens of finite space and temporary time, all of us want more. The educated want more information. The younger want more experience. The older want more youthfulness. The sickly want more medical advancements. The famous want more fame. The overlooked want more recognition. The powerful want more power. Ask a millionaire what they want, and they'll tell you, I want more. Whenever you are used to having nothing, it is natural for you to want more. But even if you are not used to having some things, it is still normal for you and I to want more. And in the text that is presented today for preaching possibilities, hear me when I tell you that Paul is talking to a people who, just like us, want more. They have gifts, but they want more gifts. They have knowledge of the one true and living God, yet they still seek after more gods. They have power and international influence, yet they want more power and more influence. They have thriving businesses, yet they want more business, because the issue that underlies the text is that their desire for more, their want for more, is rooted in their greed instead of in their God. I need you to help me today. I need you, because I know I'm talking to you. In the text, there are people who want more, but they're more for desire. Their desire for more is rooted in greed instead of in God. What does that mean? I'll help you. When your desire is rooted in greed and not in God, you don't care how you get it as long as you get it. When your desire is rooted in greed and not in God, you don't care who you hurt as long as you are made happy. When your desire is rooted in greed and not in God, you don't care who gets fired on the job as long as you still got favor with your boss. When your desire is rooted in greed and not in God, you gerrymander districts to favor your people getting elected and not care about the people whose communities are being ignored. When your desire is rooted in greed and not in God, you can even use the military to terrorize people and deport people while taking money away that helps support very needy people. And you never feel guilt and you never feel remorse while other people are suffering or struggling and you are succeeding. And I know we didn't read the verse, but I hear it in verse number 1. Paul says you are being carnal or being worldly. Somebody tell the president that the text says you are being carnal and you are being worldly. Somebody send the governor a letter and tell him that you are being carnal and you are being worldly. In the Greek, the word that is used is the word sarkikoi. Sarkikoi means to be dominated by a flesh or by a nature that is apart from God. That is the accusation accusation that Paul is making in the text on today. He is saying to the Christians in Corinth that you want more from God, yet you are apart from God. You want the abundance and the overflow from God, but you are not attached and available to God. You want the increase from God, but you are not fully engaged with God. Your desire for more then comes from a place of greediness and not a place of godliness. And if we are honest with our own selves, all of us have gotten into some mess because of our own greediness. Help me, somebody. All of us have wanted more but ended up with less because of our own greediness. Some of us have cried tears not because somebody else got us in trouble, but our own greediness got us in trouble. So here comes Paul saying both to the Christians at Corinth and to us at Cedar, Crest, Cathedral, that if you want more, then you need more. I like that. Now, if you want more, then you need more. Did you get it? I said, if you want more, then you need more. Not more greed, but you need more grace. Not more money, but you need more mercy. Not more information, but you need more inspiration. Not more greed, but you need more God. To get more, then you need more. For I need you to understand today that you are perfectly prepared. You are perfectly trained. You are perfectly positioned and equipped to have exactly what you have right now. You are perfectly positioned and perfectly poised to be exactly where you are right now. You are perfectly capable and perfectly qualified to do exactly what you are doing right now. Right now, you are living at the maximum level of your current ability. Right now, you have everything that you could possibly have at the height of your current know-how. And if you keep on doing what you are currently doing, then you will never have more than you currently have. Some of you didn't get it that way. Let me say it the way my big mama and your big mama used to say it. They used to say, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you already got. But if you want more, then you need more. If you want to be more, then you need more. If you want to do more, then you need more. Therefore, at the pinnacle of our pericope, Paul says to the Christians at Corinth that I have planted and Apollos has watered, but it is God who gives the increase. Meaning I've done all that I can do. And Apollos, my comrade, has done all that he could do. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that neither I can do nor Apollos can do. But only God himself has got to do it. Because only God gives the increase, the abundance, the overflow, the enlargement, the expansion. Only God gives the increase. The grace to grow and grow up comes from the giver of every good and perfect gift. Only God gives the increase, the elevation, the actualization, the realization, the confirmation. Only God gives the increase. And to increase, to grow, to develop, to expand, you cannot tear down the very people that God gives you to build you up. I like that. Sounds so good. I'm going to say it again. I said to increase or to grow. You cannot tear down the very people whom God has given to build you up. It sounds so good. I'm going to make it in my first point. Point number one, because God gives the increase, then you cannot tear down the very people whom God has given to build you up. Am I talking right up in here? Because this is the issue at the heart of today's text. Because the Christians in Corinth had enrolled themselves in the school of separatism. They were earning degrees in divisiveness and had become scholars in schisms. They excelled in elitism. They were advanced in ageism. They regarded racism. They were well studied in sexism. They cornered the market on classism. So nobody liked anybody, and everybody wanted to be treated like a somebody. There were those who had been members of the church for a long time, and they didn't like the people who had only been members for a short time. There were those who had only been members of the church for a short time, who were impatient with those who had been members of the church for a long time. I almost want to say it's like us with our immigrant issue in the United States. There are those who have been in the country because our parents conquered the land in colonial days, and we get mad at folk who want to migrate over right now today. Just like in the text, there were those who had been members from the beginning when Paul started the church, and there were those who became members recently when Apollos had come along. And this is why Paul accuses these Christians of being sarkikoi. This is Paul's accusation of them not only being dominated by their flesh, but they are also being separated from God, because they are hard at work tearing down the very people whom God has placed in their lives to build up. So some say, I am of Paul, so they don't like Apollos. Others say, I am of Apollos, so I don't like Paul. But what Paul is saying to them is it doesn't matter if you found God through Paul or found God through Apollos, because Paul and Apollos are both servants of God. Both Paul and Apollos are simply teachers who show you God's truth. Both Paul and Apollos are vessels who are trying to show you how to live a victorious life in Jesus Christ. And if you really want to experience increase, you have got to get past your favoritism of Paul or Apollos. If you really want to experience increase, you've got to get past your divisions and your disputes with one another. If you really want to make America great again, you have got to experience the increase that only comes when you get over your negative opinions of your leadership and your fellowship. Get over your negative opinions of people who don't look like you or talk like you or have been around like you, because you will never experience increase if you keep tearing down the very people whom God is sending to build you up. Let me come back to the church. Come back to the church. If you want to experience increase, my friends, then you've got to stop talking bad about your pastor. Yes, that's me. Your pastor is the person whom God has sent to try and help to build you up. If you want to experience the increase, you've got to stop talking bad about your church. Your church is the place where God has placed you to build you up. If you want to experience the increase, you've got to stop talking bad about your family. Your family represents the people whom God has given to you to help build you up. If you want to experience the increase, you've got to stop talking bad about your job. Your job is a means from God to temporarily supply a few of your needs. If you really want to experience the increase, you got to stop talking bad about your spouse and talking bad about your children and talking bad about your friends. If you really want to experience increase, you've got to stop tearing down the people whom God has sent to build you up. Can I preach a little while up in here? Hear me today, that everybody whom you think is a hater is not a hater. Everybody you think is an enemy is not an enemy. Everyone whom you think is a foe is not a foe. Because sometimes the very people you think are hurting you are the very people whom God sends to try to help you. Sometimes the very people you think are talking bad about you, sometimes they have been sent by God to speak a truth unto you. Sometimes the very people who you think don't care about you are the very people whom God has sent to help develop character in you. Just because you don't agree, it does not mean we have to be adversaries. Just because we don't see eye to eye, it doesn't mean we have to fight and start taking an eye for an eye. Just because we are not on the same level, it does not mean that we cannot share in the same love. Sometimes the people you think are trying to hurt you are the very people whom God sent to try and help you. And you will never experience increase if you keep tearing down the very people whom God has sent to try to build you up. And even if your haters are real, even if you got some real people who want to cause you some real hurt, I heard Jesus say to love those who hate you, because your real haters are really helping you. Even if you got real haters, they are helping you to learn how to lean and depend on your God. Even if you got real haters, they are helping you to pray harder than you've ever prayed before, to worship more than you've ever worshiped before. Even if you got some real haters, they are teaching you how to trust in the Lord all the days of your life. I'll pray for you and you pray for me. But even if you don't pray for me, I'm going to pray for you anyway. I'm going to encourage you. But even if you don't encourage me, I'm going to encourage you anyway. I'm going to love you and you love me. But even if you don't love me, I'm going to love you anyway, because I'm trying to increase and I'm trying to prosper and I'm trying to go higher and I'm trying to go further and I'm trying to do better in Jesus' name. And I will never increase if I tear you down when God sent you to build me up. That's the first lesson I'm going to try to leave with you on today, that you cannot experience increase trying to tear down the people whom God has sent to build you up. But then the second thing the text is telling us on today is because God gives the increase, you can plan and you can prepare, but you need God to make it prosper. Trying to help you. You didn't get it, Sister Givens. Here it is once again. Because God gives the increase. You can plan and you can prepare, but only God can make it prosper. Got it? You can plan and you can prepare, but you need God to make it prosper. For again, at the passage, at the pinnacle of our pericope, Paul says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. While we have become divided, you have become divided because some of you like Paul's personality and others of you prefer Apollos' abilities. Then you have missed the point that Paul and Apollos are working for the same thing. Some of you like Paul's way and others of you like Apollos' way, but you forget that we are working toward the same goal. Because Paul says, in paraphrase, neither I nor Apollos could bring into being that which we worked for. You got it? Neither I nor Apollos could bring into being the thing that we both worked for. All I am is a planter, and all Apollos is a waterer. But it is God and God alone who gives it the increase. Let me say it again. I planted the seed, and Apollos watered the seed, but only God can grow the seed. You still don't get it? I planted the garden. Apollos tended tended the garden, but only God can grow the garden. You still not there? I organized the church. Apollos came and continued the ministry of the church, but only God can grow the church, because you can plan and you can prepare, but you need God to make it prosper. The text sounds good in the English, and Paul's point about planting, preparing, and prospering is powerful enough when you read it in the English, but you miss part of the point that Paul is trying to make in the text in the English, because the text says a little bit more in the Greek. In the English, Paul says, I have planted. The Greek word used for planted is the word futuo. Futuo means to set out or to lay out. It means to implant or instill. Futuo, it carries with it the connotation, y'all, of being passive. When Paul says, I have planted, futuo means that he planted the seeds of the word of God passively. He was doing it everywhere he went without trying to be forceful nor confrontational. But when Paul says and goes on to say that Apollos is the one who watered, the Greek word for watered is this word potizo. We talked about it back in May. Potizo does not simply mean to give water or to give a drink. It means to irrigate, to give, or to make something or make someone to drink. In other words, the watering potizo that Apollos does, it is not passive, it is active and aggressive. And the image that Paul paints in his imagery is also true in their personalities. For remember that Paul was the great organizer, but Apollos was the great orator. Paul was the contractor, but Apollos was the communicator. Paul was the starter, but Apollos was the sustainer. Paul laid a foundation, but Apollos was the foreman. Paul laid the base, but Apollos was the builder. Paul had the credentials, y'all, but Apollos was charismatic. He could inspire people to do things that they didn't always want to do. And in your own life, my friends, all of us have some Pauls and some Apollos in our own life. In other words, you got some Pauls and Apollos in your life. But remember that whether it's Paul or it's Apollos, that God is the only one who can build you up. You don't get it? In other words, you can have some pastors like Paul or some prayer warriors like Apollos, but only God can build you up. They can advise you on your spiritual health, but only God can build you up. You can have some doctors and some personal trainers advising you on your physical health, but only God can build you up. You can have some psychologists and some therapists advising you on your mental health, but only God can build you up. You can have some friends and family and life coaches advising you on your social and your professional performance, but only God can build you up, because they may be nice like Paul or not so nice like Apollos. They can take it easy on you like Paul, or they can be harder on you like Apollos. They can beat around the bush like Paul, or talk and give it to you straight like Apollos. It doesn't matter what approach you use. It doesn't matter what they use to get you where you want to be. God is the only one who can build you up into what God would have you to be. You can read all the self-help books and listen to all the audio books telling you what to do with your life, but God has a book that's been selling more books than all of their books, and it's the best book to help you learn how to live in this life and achieve God's promises of eternal life. You can try multiple approaches and multiple disciplines, but God is the only one who can build you up. You can plan all you want to plan. You can prepare all you want to prepare, but I'm here to tell you that God is the only one who can cause you to prosper. And I just wish wish I had a witness here who could look back over your own life and say about your own self that there were times my plans were put to naught. There were times when all of my plans did not work. I plotted and I planned. I prepared and I pontificated. But everything I tried to do on my own, it all met with failure and defeat. But is there anybody up in here who knows that with all of your planning and all of your preparing, can you testify that when God showed up, he caused that thing to prosper? Is there anybody here who can testify that when God showed up, your mind began to prosper, your body began to prosper, your family began to prosper, your career began to prosper, and it wasn't because of your planning, and it wasn't because of your preparing, but when you did all that you could do, God showed up and did what only God can do. Because you can plan and you can prepare, but you still need God in order to make it prosper. Then third and finally, I believe the text is telling us that because God gives it, then the increase, watch it y'all, is unidirectionally omnidirectional. That sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Because God gives the increase. The increase is unidirectionally omnidirectional. Sounds like an oxymoron because God gives the increase. The increase is unidirectionally, all directional. The text says, I have planted. Apollos has watered, but God gives the increase. When we hear the word increase, we think unidirectionally. In other words, we think from down to up or from in to out. We think of increase like a flower growing in a field. We can only see the flower growing one way, from down to up. And when we think about our own growth and our own development, typically we can only see it one way. We see ourselves going from 3 feet to 4 feet, and 4 feet to 5 feet, and so on and so forth. But there is something about our God, that when God gives the increase, he's not merely growing unidirectionally, but he gives increase omnidirectionally. For when the text says that God gives the increase, the Greek word is oxanio. It does not simply mean to grow up in one direction. It more accurately means to start at a point and to go out in all directions. You don't get it? You see, my friends, the flower that you see growing up in one direction, when truth is the flower is growing in all directions. The stem is growing north and the roots are growing south. The leaves and the petals are growing east and they're growing west, which means it's not growing in one direction, but even the flower grows in all directions. And when God gives the increase, your body may look like it's growing upwards, but your roots have got to be growing downward into the soils of God's word. Your head and your hands have to be stretching outward to see the goodness of the Lord and serving the kingdom of our God. Because when God gives the increase, it is unidirectionally, I'm not directional. I'm moving in one direction, but I'm going that one direction in every direction. You still don't get it. When God gives the increase, it's not just my living that gets better, but my living and my giving gets better. When God gives the increase, it's not just my living and my giving, but it's also my family and my friends. It's also my faith and my finances. It's also my church and my community. It's also my health and my help. It's also my joy and my job. It's also my love and also my listening. That everything that is in me and everything that's around me begins to experience the increase. That every place my eye looks, I declare that place is blessed. That everywhere my feet shall trod, I declare that place is blessed. That everything my hand shall touch, I declare that thing is blessed. Because when God gives the increase, it is unidirectionally omnidirectional, which means every time I turn around, he keeps on blessing me. Every time my feet touch ground, he keeps on blessing me. Although I don't deserve all that is done for me. Is there anybody like me who's glad that the Lord just keeps on blessing me? Because God gives the increase. I heard him say, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and to keep you in peace. Because God gives the increase, then no weapon that is formed against me shall prosper. Because God gives the increase, then my God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches in glory. Because God gives the increase. I heard the Bible say that they that wait upon the Lord, they shall renew their strength. They'll mount up on wings like eagles. They'll run and they won't get weary. They'll walk and they will not faint. If there anybody here who's waiting on the Lord to give you the increase, I know how it started, but God, I'm ready for you to supply the increase. I may have been down, but Lord, I'm ready for you to pick me up and give me the increase. I may have been in a world of sin, but God, I'm ready for you to save my soul and give me the increase. I'm pressing on the upward way. New heights I'm gaining each and every day. Still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet. Lord, plant my feet. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher, on higher, on higher ground. The increase. Apollos watered what Paul had planted. But in the midst of all their efforts, it would have gone for naught without God giving the increase. And there's somebody, maybe you're here, maybe you're watching out there. You're wondering why For all of your work, you're not seeing what you expected as your reward. For all of your putting in, you're not seeing what you expected to be the payout. And you work harder. You do more. You try to go further. And yet all of your efforts are meeting with failure and futility. And you wonder, God, why am I not receiving that which you promised? And I hear God saying to you, maybe because you've been doing the planting. You called your cousin and them and they helped you do the watering. But maybe the real problem is you have not trusted me to give you the increase. You've made everything else your priority. Your job is your priority. Your rest is your priority. You made everything else your priority except me. Hear again the words of Paul. For all that you do, only God can give the increase. Only God can give the increase. Hear it again. Only God can give the increase. And when you keep doing your godly planting, investing your time, when you keep doing the godly pouring, investing your energy, then God in God's time, in God's season, will supply the prosperity of godly increase. In this last quarter of this year, stop trying to do it your way. Start doing it God's way. This last quarter of the year, stop relying on what you think is wisdom. Rely on God's wisdom. In this last quarter of the year, stop following what he say and what she say and what they say and the nay say, and listen to what God says. For God alone is able to give the increase.
Bless me, bless me, oh Lord.
Bless me indeed.
Bless me indeed.
Enlarge my territory.
My territory.
You've been praying that since January 1.
Lord,
You've been praying, Lord, bless me.
me.
But after you prayed it, you went and did your own thing.
I pray for it.
After you asked for it, you went and did things your own way. After you said, I'm trusting God for it, you went and got yourself in even more trouble.
Bless me.
But today,
Bless me.
your situation, your circumstance can turn around.
Bless me.
If you make up your mind and make the commitment from this day forward to do it God's way. As we stand to our feet today, there's somebody you've been saying you need God to save you. Today I'm inviting you to come and meet me at the altar. Receive the gift of God's salvation. There's somebody in the house, you may be saying, I need God to help me. Today I'm inviting you to receive the help of God. God will help you.
Bless me indeed, enlarge.
Enlarge.
My territory.
Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Bless me.
Bless me.
Bless me indeed. I pray for the increase. Praying for the increase. The increase of God's faith, my faith in God. The increase of God's favor and blessings in my life. The doors are still open today. If you just need to come and say yes, to give your life to Christ, to unite with the church, the invitation is still extended. The doors are still open. You can still come. Matters not how long you may have been away. Today is a great day to return. You can come. 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 You can come
to you.
I come saying, Lord, enlarge, enlarge. Enlarge my territory.
Enlarge my territory.
Say enlarge.
Enlarge my territory.
Say enlarge.
Enlarge my territory.
Say enlarge.
Enlarge my territory.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord, bless me indeed.
I pray for increase.
Bless me indeed.
I pray for it. Come on, say, bless me. Everybody say,
Bless me.
bless me, bless me.
Oh Lord, bless me indeed.
Say, my territory,